Good morning, everyone. It's Trader Rob. Today is Monday, July 27th. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. And you guys are all ready for the upcoming trading week here. Got a new little layout here in on the live streams. Hopefully you guys are going to enjoy it. Kind of go over the format here a little bit. I'll kind of do this brief introduction throughout this week, and then going forward, we'll just kind of jump right into the charts. So for the first 30 minutes of the market, I start my market preparations about 5. Well, this morning I started about 5 a.m. So about 3.5 hours before the market opens. I typically really start hammering things down around 5:15, 5:30. And then I have a very strict morning routine that, gives me kind of my outlook on what the market's been doing in the overnight session, how the previous New York session kind of ended off, and kind of formulate my, try to find some unbalanced volume areas on the weekly range and on the daily range. And what I'm going to really concentrate during these 30 minutes of this show is kind of giving you what setups I'm looking at for the day with clear entries, clear stop loss, and clear take profits. And, again, I mentioned these in my Sunday videos. How you trade these is obviously up to the individual trader. Don't copy trade me. But at the same time, if you've got a strategy that you've got an edge in, regardless of if you're trading similar to me or different than me, having these weekly bands and developing weekly bands will help you out in your current strategy as well. Because, if you're going to be going into an area of unbalanced volume that is, let's say, seller controlled or buyer controlled, you don't want to be longing into a seller controlled unbalanced volume area, regardless of what type of strategy you might be employing, unless it's swing trading, or if you're like on a very big time frame type of trader, then it's a little bit different, because even my weekly bands are really still meant for intraday trading. So they're really meant for scalping. We're in and out of these trades. On the weekly bands, it could range anywhere from 10 minutes to I've seen at the most maybe 40 minutes. My daily bands, those typically end within a minute to 2 minutes, not much longer than that. So these really are more intraday type of scalps for you guys to really look at. But even if you are like swing trading or kind of looking out in the future a little bit, these weekly bands will be extremely helpful for you, because if you, let's just say you are in a long. So let me just kind of let's kind of find one of these bands. All right, so here's a weekly band that we've got, and we'll go over these all in a bit. I'm just kind of going over my kind of what my thesis and my process is here. So we've got here a weekly band that's seller controlled. Okay, so all of this is really seller controlled volume. And as I mentioned, if you've got an intraday strategy that you can find a short in this area, fantastic. I would not be taking a long from this band. That's probably not going to work out very well for you on an intraday scalp basis. But if you are on a bigger picture, so maybe you're trading on the 4-hour or even the 1-hour chart, I would say maybe stick to, let's say, like the 4-hour chart, maybe the weekly, if you're a volume profile trader. And you are looking for a long, but you're looking for a long from way down here, and you're coming in, you might get a big rejection up here. You might tap in, and then we might finally break through on this band. Then you've got an added piece of confluence on your bigger time frame trade to either add to a position or to you can start trailing your stop under these bands. So that's the only way that I would really be trading these bands counter trend to where the balance is, where the whatever side is winning this unbalanced volume area. But for what we're going to concentrate is on intraday scalping and where I can expect to see rejections up or down, and we'll kind of go over them as well. So we'll go over the bands and some areas that I'm looking for trades. Again, we'll go over some clear take profit and stop loss areas, and then we will take a look at the market profile for the previous session, so the overnight session, and kind of look at it in a kind of on a weekly on the last 5 days to kind of see some key areas that might correspond with a weekly band, a daily band, or my scalping bands that I have that are more my one-to-one type of trades. So let's kind of get started. Let's kind of go over, we'll start on the NQ here. We've got prior day open, which we're kind of approaching right now at the 28,700. Now, these levels for me, the prior day open, the current day open on Mondays are not going to be as relevant for me personally. I typically really start putting a lot more relevance on these levels, especially if they form in an area of confluence for me. So again, an area of unbalanced volume. I will start looking at these a lot more strongly on Tuesdays. Okay, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm putting a lot more weight on the current day and previous day opens. Prior day high is a big one. We've already kind of ran the liquidity that's sitting up here, so not really that big, not that strong of an area for me right here. We'll kind of keep going. This is going to be our first. This is our first weekly band that is all seller controlled. Okay. And what I'd like to kind of go over is how some different methods that you can trade these. Now, again, if you've got your own trading style, perfect. If you've got your own, entry confirmation or way to trade these bands, great. I'm going to show you a very simple and profitable way to trade these bands kind of going forward. Very high quality, very prop friendly. So, and I'll show you a few different ways on how to trade these. So the weekly band, developing weekly band, that again is seller controlled, is sitting from the 28,986 down to the 28,913. Now you're gonna say, Rob, what's this other band that you've got sitting here as well? Well, if you guys are familiar with my AVT strategy, this is really the foundation of everything that I trade every single morning. The AVT is very simple. What we're really looking for is we're looking for areas in the market that have a strong impulsive move to the downside, that have broken previous structure. And what this model here does on how I find my weekly bands is I go from a top-down approach, okay? So you know that my typical time frame on my AVT strategy is the 120 range. You can go higher. You can just keep multiplying by 2. Every time you multiply by 2, you're going to get a stronger and stronger band, okay? As you divide by 2, you're going to get a smaller and smaller band. But the key concept is that if you draw these AVT setups everywhere on your chart, you are going to kind of drive yourself a little bit nuts. What I like to do is I like to find high time frame areas that have an impulsive move. So here's your impulsive move to the downside, okay? And I would consider this area right here to be my unbalanced volume area, okay? This is the base area that caused this move to the downside. And you can do this on a range chart, you could do this on a tick chart, you could do this on a minute chart. I find the range footprints just very easy to look at, and they give me a little bit of added information that I think is super crucial, which is going to be where you might have some buyers and sellers that are trapped. And most of you that are watching these videos and my live streams, you already know what I'm looking for, which is what I call my delta flip. So I'll hone in on this area, and then I will drop down to the next time frame down, which would be the 60 range. Not time frame, it's range based. So the next range would be like the 60 range, and I'll find this exact setup. I will also then look for on the 60 range. Okay, and then once I find that, which might be a little smaller, I will then slash that and divide it by 2, and I'll go down to the 30 range, and I will look at the 30 range or the 40 range and see the exact same layout. I'll look for the exact same thing on that lower, and then now my band is going to get really small. Okay, and then we'll start to look like these, where you've got a big weekly band. This is a big area of unbalanced volume, and then we've got a smaller detailed, very scalpable area to trade from. These areas will provide you the absolute best risk to reward on your trades. Okay, because if you take a limit here, stop a few points above this band, you'll see it. I mean, this is how I trade my signals. This is what I give to my signal members. Very, very detailed areas that will provide you sometimes 1 to 8, 1 to 10 risk to reward with very little problem, as long as they're coming from these very, very large unbalanced volumes. Okay, so very, very important to note. And every morning I'll give you guys the bands that I see, the detailed areas that I see, and that's kind of what we're going to go through in these 30-minute shows in the morning time. So how to trade these? Very simple. The easiest route is going to be a limit order at the bottom of your band. So a limit order at the 28,913, and a stop loss sitting a few points above the end of this band, and just go to a 1 to 1.5 risk to reward at the minimum. Okay, at the minimum. If you're on prop and you've got intraday trailing, then you probably want to be at a 1 to 1, okay? Because you do need to take profit a little bit sooner. But if you're at end of day trailing, generally this 1 to 1.5 is going to work out very, very well for you. For a little bit more aggressive, 1 to 2, no problem. You want to take 2 micros, depending on what your portfolio size, your position size is. You can take 1 off at 1.5. and let your second one run, and then go to break even, because by that point we're already 100 points away from this band. And you know, if we come back to retest this, more than likely we're going to be going the other direction, up or down, depending on where this band is going to be sitting at. So on this example of this first band that we've got here at the 28,913 to the 28,986, and again, I post these on Discord every single morning, but this during the show is going to be your most up-to-date bands for the day. And then prior to the show, if you want to join my signal service, you can join the signal service as well. We keep trading until about 11:30 every morning. So I'm going to show you guys here what this first trade would look like. So you want to pop this about 3 or 4 points right above the band, nothing crazy. And you want to be, again, at a minimum of 1 to 1.5 risk to reward. So this would be looking like that. This is what this trade would look like for this morning, if price action was to be able to get up to here. Okay, so this is your first band that you'd have to look for. Now you're going to say, all right, Rob, well, and you know what? Let me just type this in right here, just so we, this is trade option 1. Now, why do I have a few different options on these trades? Well, what you're going to find and what you're going to see, and I'm going to give you a strategy for this. Let's say this band is sitting a little bit higher, it's towards the middle part. What you will see on how strong these bands are is that when price action finally taps in, it might reject right from the higher range, from this higher area that I've got listed in here. Okay, it might not get into here. It might come back after 100 to 150 point move. It might retrace back and then get into this area and then make its dump from there as well. So the reason for option number one is that you're capturing the entirety of the move. It's not the best entry. It's not going to be the best risk to reward, but it's definitely capturing the entirety of the move. And, you know, for resting limit orders, it's a fantastic type of strategy. Now, how else can you trade this strategy? Let's go over this right now. So let me see if I can move this guy over here just a little bit and show you. So we've already gone through option one. Option two, let's get this guy, move him over here as well. Option two is popping a limit order at the detailed area. Okay, so this is gonna be your lower range. Have your stop sitting a few points above the bands, and again, here you want to be at least at a bare minimum 1 to 2. There's no reason to not be at 1 to 2. To be honest with you, you should probably be at a 1 to 4 at the minimum. But for right now, we'll just keep this at a 1 to 2 risk to reward, and you will see how well these will do. So instead of taking trade option one, which is going to have a bigger drawdown, okay, and again, this is 5 micros. Let me just change these to, let's just change these to 2 micros, just to make the numbers a little bit little easier. 318. If you're on 1 micro, it's $150, $160 of risk. Again, making at least a 1 to 1.5. Over here, shell settings, we'll change this one to 2 micros as well. And now the drawdown and the profit amount look a little bit more, little easier. Now, this would be option number 2. Wish I could move these a little easier. There we go. Okay, so we've got here now trade option 2. Very detailed area. You can probably go with a bigger position size on these because obviously your stop loss is going to be not as big. So whatever type of risk parameters you have for your portfolio, great. And then finally, option number 3 is a combination of both of these options. Okay, and what do you mean by that, Rob? Well, start with your lowest position size, 1 contract on an E-mini or on a micro. Start with 1 contract here at your base of your at the base of your weekly band, stop loss sitting up here. And then if price action continues into your more detailed area, okay, so your scalping area, and you get a rejection off of this area, add 1 more contract right here, 1 more micro. You're going to average your position out somewhere in this area. This is not financial advice, but this is how I would trade it. You average out your position, and now you've got yourself a much better risk to reward, and you got yourself at least 1 to 1.5 risk to reward target. Again, very prop friendly, very easy to trade. So you've got 3 options here. Option 1, your most conservative approach, the base of the weekly band, stop loss a few points above. You've got your second option, which is a little bit more detailed of an area that you know, obviously is going to be much smaller drawdown, much bigger risk to reward. And then your third option is a combination of the 2. Okay, so we've kind of gone over here the situation on this weekly band. Our next weekly band that's sitting above it on the NQ is going to be at the 29,122 to the 29,036. Okay, 29,122 to 29,036. Don't have to go over the same scenarios as far as your TPs and stop losses. Stop loss on the weekly band, at least 3 to 4 points above, and 1 to 1.5 at a minimum on your risk to reward. Okay. And then finally, I've got another band sitting up here at the 29,282 to the 29,218, if we can get up to here. Again, these are all seller controlled. These are all above price action. We do have a previously weekly high that has not been tapped into at the 29,364. A lot of liquidity sitting up here. Previous value area high sitting up here. Definitely a weekly fair. It's a weekly fair value high. So again, super important to note there on the NQ. Okay, what's sitting below us? Let's give me 1 second here. All right, so this is the one that I really wanted to talk about here this morning. So I gave a weekly band during my yesterday's video, my Sunday video that came out yesterday, that had a weekly band that was sitting at the 28,545 to the 28,458. Well, if we take a look at price action, we gapped this entire band, right? So we had, this was your Friday close, and your Sunday opened directly in the middle of this band. We just projected right off of it. We did tap into it, which I was looking at last night. To be honest with you, I really wanted to take this trade last night, and rejected to the band to the upside. Okay, so there is still unbalanced volume sitting here, but it's more towards the bottom side of this band. For a brand new trade for the week, I would say skip this band for right now. Okay, this is a little bit more unpredictable. These are going to be much higher quality setups, in my opinion, because volume is just resting there. This right here, as we gapped it from the Sunday fill, it's just not. I would just skip this band entirely for right now. And I know it kind of stinks, but it is what it is. I would rather you have your first trade on a weekly band to be a profitable trade than one that might be a little bit not very stable. And then yesterday's, so this is a prior close down here. Again, I don't put a lot of weight onto this level, not on Mondays. Starting Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I put a lot more weight on those. And then finally, you've got a buyer weekly band sitting here on the NQ from the 27,224 to the 27,631. Okay, and if you don't see another band sitting inside of here, this is going to have to be your limit order, stop loss, 1 to 1.5. That's what I would be trading right there. And then obviously, as the market continues to move throughout the day and throughout the morning, these weekly bands and these daily bands will develop throughout the day. And those are the ones that I keep mapping. That's how I find my signals, and that's how I take my trades each day. All right, let's go over the ES now. ES is in a similar situation. So ES gapped into this very big weekly band, extremely big. This is an abnormally big weekly band, but I will say that the ES has been extremely balanced. Price action has been extremely balanced throughout. So for these last couple of weeks, we haven't had really a lot of new developing bands, but the bands that I've been giving have been extremely, extremely strong. So what is there to do? Well, I personally had a signal. Let me see if I can find this signal here. Yeah, it's right here. I had a signal that I gave my signal members. Let's get to at the 7512. I gave this level on my Sunday video. So if you guys go watch the Sunday video that I post, if you haven't, you can always go to my website, which is robstrades.com, and you can request my Sunday. I'll pop it in the chat here as well. You can request my Sunday email that includes all of the weekly bands and all of the tradable levels that I go out through that I mention in Sunday's videos. So you guys can use that. I had a signal at the 7512.50. Posted a signal to the signal group sometime last week. Had a resting limit order here to take a short on the ES. We obviously missed this trade by, I think it was like a tick. It was like a tick or two, but it was almost right exactly to the dot. And again, if we zoom out, here's the 7512. This is the area, same as the NQ. We're in a bigger weekly band sitting up here from sellers, very strong. This is an area where, again, you could take a short, a limit order down here. Now, this is an extremely big weekly band because I almost kind of had to sandwich two of them together just because we haven't had a lot of really crazy movement on the ES. Not as much as like on the NQ. So this is your bigger weekly band, okay? Sitting all in this blue shaded area. But this is the area that I find to find that very detailed scalp. So again, same thing on the ES. Limit order at the bottom of your weekly band, at least at a minimum 1 to 1.5. On the detailed bands right here, limit order at the bottom of your band, stop loss a few points, maybe. Honestly, you probably only need about a point and a half above on the ES on these bands, and at a minimum 1 to 2 risk to reward. Okay, so same way that we were just showing you how to trade the NQ, it's the same way how you'd be trading the ES. Okay, so we've got what do we got here? We've got a key level here at 7503. Prior day high 74.96. Today's open at the 74.90. Again, not putting a lot of weight on these prior days and today's current open. I put a lot more weight of those on Mondays. But let's talk about our first band, weekly band here for buyers. Okay. Now we've got a weekly band here from the 74.81 to the 74.61. I don't have a band that's more detailed in this area. It's just what I see in price action. I don't have one, but I do have a scalping level where you could take a scalp from at the 74.67. Now, yes, you can wait for price action to get down here to take your long. I personally would be sitting at the top of this band at the 74.81. Okay. And just adjust your position size. You might have to go down to a little bit less micros than what you're accustomed to, but these bands will hold up very, very strongly. And again, I'm not going to be going over these prior days just because these are not going to be as strong. Prior day low, yeah, sure, I'll take that. 74.31, that's not a bad one to look at. This is your more important band level. Your previous weekly low at the 74.11, untapped, so this is definitely an area that you can see a reaction to on the ES. And then above on the ES, 75.63 to the 75.58. This is a daily band right here, so not, sorry, that was a bad D. Just a daily band, not a weekly band, but again, very scalpable area here. Limit order, stop loss sitting above it. Now, your only issue with this band is you do have a previous weekly high sitting at the 75.63. Okay, so on these particular bands, when you've got a very important key level sitting above you, which has got a lot of liquidity, market will obviously want to come up, tap into this liquidity right here, and then go. Okay, so on this scenario, I would almost be waiting for that tap into this band or to this level liquidity here, then look for the rejection. And I know we had some news this morning. We have durable goods. Let's go back to the NQ. Not a big spike there on news. So any questions from the chat while I'm still on here on anything to do with the levels, the bands, how to trade them? If you have any questions, now's your chance. I'm going to stick around for a few more minutes, and then I'll be answering some questions. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So I don't see any questions, so I'm assuming that everybody understands kind of the concepts that we're looking for. Again, if you're like, Rob, this went a little quick, you've got the replay of this video that you can watch for future reference. Same time, you can always look on Discord for these levels to be posted every single morning. So that can also be your guide. There is a link to my Discord that's in the bottom of this video. Hopefully you guys get some value from this, and you guys hopefully enjoy the new format. I will be full live trading on Friday with Cash Profit Friday and giveaway. I'm not sure what prop firm I'll be giving away. Let's see if I can try to get a Tradeify giveaway to do. I've been doing Lucid and Apex, and I do have a few left on those, but I'd like to see if I can give away a Tradeify one as well. Wishing you guys the absolute best on your trading day here this morning, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.